Welcome back to F1 News Pit Pass, and today we've got a major story brewing around Max Verstappen. That's right, Max Verstappen is on the brink of a race ban. He's currently sitting on 11 penalty points, just one short of the automatic 12 that would force him out for a full Grand Prix. If Verstappen racks up any more points during the upcoming races in Canada or Austria, he'll be hit with a suspension. Now sure, a few points will expire in October, but until then, Red Bull are under real pressure to come up with a backup plan in case their star driver gets sidelined. They're quietly preparing for what could be a season-defining disaster. And on a different note, some interesting testing news. Can you guess who's behind the wheel of the MoneyGram Haas car during TPC testing? It's none other than Kamui Kobayashi. Yes, that Kobayashi. The former F1 fan favorite is back in action, doing test runs despite now being more active in the World Endurance Championship with Toyota. It's great to see him back, even if only for testing. Speaking of seat warmers, if Lance Stroll can't make it to the Canadian GP, Aston Martin has a decision to make. Dragovic seems the most likely stand-in, especially after Stroll's wrist injury in Spain, which, by the way, was more serious than initially thought and may require recovery time beyond Canada. There's been a bit of dreaming among fans, even jokingly suggesting Kobayashi, but realistically, Felipe Drugovich is the safe bet, especially with Van Dorn and Bottas tied up with Le Mans obligations. Meanwhile, testing is underway at multiple locations. Haas has been running at Paul Ricard, while Ferrari did laps at Fiorano. Over at Monza, Alpine also got in on the action with Jack Doohan taking the wheel in some older machinery. And F1 testing rules mean most of these teams are using cars that are at least 2 years old, except for Pirelli tire testing, which allows for more recent chassis. Now let's talk about Ferrari and Fred Vasseur's latest comments. Vasseur says, quote, "I'd rather be second than fourth or fifth." Well, duh. But for many fans, especially Leclerc supporters, that sounds like a team still not aiming for wins. Yes, Ferrari are ahead of Mercedes in the standings, but they're still miles behind McLaren. Vasseur says a new floor and rear suspension are coming between Canada and Silverstone, with internal hopes that these changes might be the magic fix. They believe the new suspension package could transform their season. We'll believe it when we see it. Credit where it's due, Charles Leclerc is driving at an all-time high. He's more confident, more assertive with engineers, and clearly has the potential to win races, just not in this Ferrari. The sad part? Ferrari's culture doesn't seem to demand wins like Mercedes or Red Bull. As Toto Wolff would say, anything less than P1 is failure. At Ferrari, it seems, well, at least we weren't lapped, is the bar. Fred Vasseur literally pointed out they were just 5 seconds behind Norris on lap 40 in Spain, as if that's worth celebrating. And speaking of Mercedes, their struggles continue, especially in hot conditions where they can't keep the tires in the right window. Even Toto Wolff has called tire science magic at this point. Their triple header was rough, points were hard to come by, and both Antonelli and Alonso suffered engine failures in Monaco. But here's something spicy. Mercedes did testing with both George Russell and Kimi Antonelli to simulate 2026 conditions. And Antonelli? He was 2 seconds faster than George on the same track. Now, don't read too much into it. Different setups, different wings. But still, it's a statement. The rumor mill says Mercedes is planning to lock in Russell and Antonelli for 2026 and beyond. Russell is close to a 2-year extension, while Antonelli reportedly has a 4-year deal with performance clauses baked in, like Mercedes needing to be fourth or better by race 12. Right now, they're third, just ahead of Red Bull, or should we say Max Verstappen racing. Bottom line, Mercedes is betting the house on Kimi and George. But let's circle back. If Max Verstappen gets just one more penalty point, he'll be suspended. That could come from anything. A qualifying error, an unsafe pit release, or a lap 1 incident. This isn't theoretical. It happened to Kevin Magnussen last year. It could absolutely happen to Max. Red Bull are hoping for the best, but quietly preparing for the worst. They've requested a super license exemption from the FIA for rising star Arvid Lindblad, who isn't 18 yet. That request has been sitting there since March, and now, with Max at 11 points, it just got very real. If Max is banned, what does Red Bull do? They could pull Isaac Hadja up from the junior team, but that would create a vacuum at Racing Bulls. Would they bring in Ayumu Iwasa or go early with Lindblad, who turns 18 in September? And what about Yuki Tsunoda? He's had a rough patch, dead last in Q1 in Spain, 6/10ths off Max. But Red Bull say they're sticking with him. They're even giving him more TPC testing time in the RB19, hoping to improve confidence. Let's not forget, the RB19 was a beast to handle late last year, even for Perez. Red Bull aren't giving up on the championship, but they're now all in on Max. Constructors' title? Basically gone. So they're experimenting, sometimes using Tsunoda as a test bed for setups they might use on Max's car later. It's not ideal, but it's the position they're in. And yes, they're still pushing for Lindblad to get that super license exemption just in case. Do I think Max will actually get banned? Probably not. But this is Formula One. It only takes one mistake. The pressure is on. What do you think? Will Verstappen make it through Canada and Austria clean? Should Red Bull be betting on Lindblad? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more high-stakes F1 breakdowns, only here on F1 News Pit Pass. See you in the next one.